For years, the footballing world has laid witness to the brilliance of Messi and Ronaldo, two players who had legendary potential and went on to realize it. But not every player who has a hot start to their career finishes hot. The ones who stay hot evolve, and the ones who don't, well, that's what we'll talk about today. Let's take a look at some of the players who refuse to reach the peak of their potential. Anthony Martial. Starting with one that's rather obvious, Anthony Martial will probably go down as one of the biggest busts in European football. The Frenchman had it all: pace, technique, a real eye for goal, and 5-star potential, which was backed up by Manchester United when they signed him for a whopping £36 million up front, plus another $21.5 million in installments from Monaco back in 2015. At the time, that made him the most expensive teenager in the world, and at the time, that was rightly justified. Anthony Martial quickly emerged from the depths of youth football in France as a potent young striker. He was scoring goals for fun, and a Lyon youth setup that was also scoring plenty of goals for fun. Putting the ball in the back of the net was always a priority for Martial, but it wasn't just his ability to score that caught the eye. The Frenchman was always a fine dribbler of the ball, and as he matured and aged, his ball control and technique became more refined. So in came Monaco. They took advantage of Lyon's public financial struggles and paid just €5 million for the French sensation. At just 17 years old, Monaco had a rising star who many had claimed had the ceiling of Thierry Henry. It wasn't until his second season at Monaco when things started to take shape, as his 12 goal contributions helped Monaco to a third-place finish in Ligue 1. Now, probably the most notable goal during that season was a late equalizer in the 90th minute against the eventual champions PSG. Funny enough, his best stretch of form came right after the reverse fixture in March, where he ended up scoring an incredible 8 times in 12 games during a pretty impressive run for the club. Now, it was that run of form for Martial that saw the big dog start to sniff around for his services. Manchester United, who were starting to re-identify themselves after the major departure of Sir Alex Ferguson, saw the next shiny toy dangling right in their face, and they were sold. Now, both teams agreed that Martial had high potential, and agreed on a fee that included a future Ballon d'Or winner clause. But his transfer fee came with divided opinions, some saying it was too high for a youngster who just broke out onto the first team scene. But that goal, yes, that goal, completely shut down all talk of a fee. His directness, lack of fear, and ability to finish in that sequence will always be one of the best moments in the Premier League. He finished that season scoring 11 times in the league, his second best return of his Manchester United career. He even won UEFA Golden Boy in 2015, further solidifying that Martial was on his way to stardom. Despite this, his consistency in front of goal was still a cause for concern, especially since he was initially bought to lead the front line. But Martial's ability to unsettle opposition defenses allowed other United players to go under the radar and contribute in ways that he couldn't. Now at this point, everyone had seen his huge potential, and that included United legend Gary Neville, who had high hopes for the Frenchman.
This is not an Anthony Martial point. There is nothing more disappointing in life than not seeing someone realise their potential and talent. And this guy has got everything.
It wasn't until the 2019-20 season, after playing under his third manager at United, where Martial had his best ever season as a professional footballer. The Frenchman registered a whopping 32 goals and assists in all competitions, 23 of those coming in the Premier League alone. And that saw United finish third under Ole that year, rising 3 spots up the table and securing Champions League football. This had everyone question if Anthony Martial was finally going to make good on his potential and help Manchester United to a title. Yeah, no. The talent was always there for Anthony Martial, but the work ethic never followed. Too many times he was called out for his lazy approach to the game, and his controversial personal life really didn't help his case either. His situation also wasn't helped by the fact that Manchester United were severely underperforming by their standards on all fronts, and that increased the pressure on Martial. Injuries started to plague him, and his consistency problems would turn up again. Even a loan move to Sevilla in Spain proved pointless, as Sevilla themselves couldn't wait to send his ass back to Manchester. I wouldn't classify him as another talent ruined at United, but more of a talent that didn't work hard enough to reach his full potential. Ricardo Quaresma. Quaresma was a real wizard with the ball at his feet. His expressive nature and unpredictability made him one of the more mercurial wingers of this generation. His dribbling style, his swagger, his arrogance, everything about him was flashy. Starting in the same youth setup as Cristiano Ronaldo, it was hard at the time to distinguish who would turn out to be the better footballer. After some time in Sporting's first team, it was in 2003 when they both left for huge clubs. Ronaldo ended up joining Manchester United, and Quaresma ended up joining FC Barcelona. Perhaps the move to the Catalan Giants was too big for Quaresma. This wasn't the same Barcelona side that would eventually play free-flowing football under Pep Guardiola, but it was a system designed by Frank Rijkaard to impose sustained control over their opponents, a precursor to tiki-taka. This meant that Quaresma had to adapt his game to fit a system that was both hard-working and relied on teamwork, and because of his unpredictability, he was unable to fit correctly in that puzzle. Spells on the bench were more frequent than he would have liked, and as a result, his relationship with Rijkaard suffered. In just 1 year, things had gotten so bad that he refused to play for Barcelona as long as Rijkaard was manager. Dang. Because of these differences, it led Quaresma back to a move to Portugal, this time for FC Porto. Porto had just come down from an extreme high after becoming European champions with Jose Mourinho. Coincidentally, Quaresma joined the same summer Mourinho left for Chelsea in a swap deal that saw Deco go the other way to Barcelona. With this move, Quaresma finally seemed to find his perfect match. He was able to thrive and play to his usual freedom, and this translated to great success for Porto. From 2005 to 2008, Porto won the Primeira Liga 3 times in a row, with Quaresma registering 43 assists in the league alone during that period. That comes out to just about 14 assists per season. Crazy stuff. Now, to say that Quaresma was an all-around threat would be kind of an understatement. His tricky movement, his tight-knit dribbling, and at sometimes his audacious playmaking mixed with his unrivaled flair were all brilliant aspects of his game. Now, his coach at the time, Jesualdo Ferreira, took full advantage of this, stating that, "I didn't want him to lose his personality and individuality. Otherwise, he'll turn into an average player rather than playing like the genius that he is." And it was with this genius and craftiness that Quaresma crafted a weapon so powerful, so majestic, that enemies didn't know how to stop it: the Trivela. Used by so many skillful players to this day, Quaresma made it his own and rightfully gained the recognition his talent deserved. But there's also a very real possibility that this creativity is what hindered Quaresma from being one of the world's best. Even still, his stellar performances gave him a wonderful opportunity to link up with Jose Mourinho at Inter Milan, who had an unbelievably stacked Inter squad. For someone who averaged 14 assists for the previous 3 seasons, supplying Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Mario Balotelli, and Adriano probably didn't sound too shabby. The catch is that Jose Mourinho is your manager, and as we all know, Jose Mourinho is not normal.
I think I'm a special one.
He required a different standard, one that Zlatan Ibrahimovic was meeting, but not Ricardo Quaresma. Listen to what Jose Mourinho had to say about the Portuguese winger. "He's a great talent, but the joy I have seeing the way Ibra works for and with the team, I do not yet have with Quaresma. He will have to learn, otherwise he won't play, and I'm sure he'll change and become more tactically disciplined." Yeah, he just didn't end up doing that. He actually ended up being the winner of the Bidone d'Oro, the worst player in the Serie A that season back in 2008. Now look, don't get me wrong, he started strong, scoring with his patented Trivela against Catania on his Serie A debut, but after that, he just couldn't find his feet in Milan. A loan spell to Mourinho's former side Chelsea just 6 months later materialized, but it was at this point that Quaresma's true potential wasn't going to be reached. It was no secret that Quaresma had the talent to hack it at the biggest clubs in world football, but he wasn't willing to mold and define himself into a world-class player, something that his mate Cristiano Ronaldo was able to do in more ways than 1, or 5. Mario Balotelli. Now, it would be pointless to not include Super Mario in this video. Man, I remember when I was younger and Balotelli was linked with both Manchester clubs, I wanted him to go to Man United so bad. It was because someone with his frame and his size moving at that speed was frightening, but he also had the composure, technique, and decision-making of an established player at such a young age. Him going to City felt like Itachi joining the Akatsuki, the ultimate betrayal. Now, he has so many crazy moments in his career, it's kind of hard to talk about all of them. But if there's one thing about Mario Balotelli, it's that he definitely knows how to make a statement, that's for sure. Mario Balotelli was immensely talented, but on the flip side, he was also extremely controversial. He wasn't afraid to speak his mind, to let his fans, teammates, and coaches know how he truly feels. So this ended up making him a luxury player, one that 100% could work well in your system and score you tons of goals, but it primarily came on his terms. Now, Balotelli was always destined for greatness. He had the technique and physicality to play with the best of the best in the world. He had such a strong understanding of the game that he could unpick defenses in many ways, and his ability to finish from anywhere in any fashion made him stand out. From the off, there was a real possibility of him becoming one of the best in the world. He made his debut at 17 against Cagliari in 2007 under Roberto Mancini, and a year later he became the youngest Inter Milan player to score in the Champions League at just 18 years old under Jose Mourinho. That season he ended up scoring 8 times in the league, and his trajectory was certainly pointed straight at the top. But there never seemed to be a sense of peace for Balotelli. During a time when racism in Italian football was at an all-time high, his mentality and commitment were tested frequently. He rightfully stood up for himself against the racism, but when his form dipped, Balotelli would sometimes lose his head. The most notable example was in 2010, when Balotelli, according to former Inter owner Massimo Moratti, committed public suicide by throwing his jersey on the ground after a Champions League semi-final victory over Barcelona, where fans were clearly super happy and had nothing but positive things to say. Regardless of the noise, there was no denying that Balotelli was one of Europe's hottest prospects, and soon he swapped the blue and black of the Nerazzurri to the oil money at Manchester City. Balotelli's career took a tremendous leap forward at Manchester City, winning the Golden Boy Award in 2010, taking English football by storm, and assisting Sergio Aguero one of the most iconic Premier League moments ever. But once again, too much controversy clouded Balotelli from truly shining, and despite his stellar performances on the pitch, this dude just couldn't stay out of trouble. I mean, I really think this next clip is going to sum it all up for Balotelli and his time at Manchester City. I mean, I remember watching this live and I still to this day have no clue what he's trying to do. Naturally, this began to affect his consistency and efficiency, and it put a strain on his relationship with Roberto Mancini. This meant that soon after a terrific title-winning season prior, Balotelli would be surplus to requirements come January. He returned home to join the other Milan. AC Milan paid £20 million to bring Balotelli back to Italy, and this actually seemed to revitalize Super Mario. He initially shined in Serie A, scoring 12 goals in 13 matches to help secure Champions League qualification for AC Milan, and then in his first full year with the club, he managed 20 goal contributions in 30 Serie A matches. But of course, trouble always found him. Whether it was him toting lethal weapons like he was in Call of Duty, or the unfortunate racism that he endured once again back in Italy, Balotelli just couldn't find any peace. I might be in the minority that thinks this, but Balotelli was probably just really misunderstood. But what do you guys think hindered him from being one of the best in the world? Dele Alli. A Dele Alli situation is a bit of a sad one. His flame burned so bright at the start, but there were a mix of issues that affected his playing career and really hindered him from reaching his full potential. Alli started his career as a young lad who rose through the ranks at MK Dons. A tall, lanky figure, Alli's talent was apparent from the very off. It took him a full season to get used to the intensity of first-team football, but by the 2014-15 season, he began scoring an abnormal amount of goals from the center of midfield. Granted, he had the license to get further up the pitch, and Alli had a great sense of arriving late in the box to finish. His performances earned him a move to Tottenham Hotspur, who signed Alli ahead of the 2015 Premier League season. He joined the likes of Heung-min Son, Toby Alderweireld, and Kieran Trippier, as Mauricio Pochettino looked to improve upon a 5th-place finish the season prior. There's quite literally only a few players who have gone straight from League One to the Premier League, and Dele Alli is the one who made the transition look easy. In his first season, according to the official Premier League website, Alli scored 10 goals and assisted 9 in the Premier League. The Spurs finished 3rd in the same year that Leicester City miraculously won the Premier League. Alli hit the ground running and enjoyed tremendous success as a free-roaming attacking midfielder/support striker, and his link-up with Christian Eriksen and Harry Kane made Spurs extremely difficult to contain on the attack. Pochettino's gamble on youth gave him the confidence to develop his game, but also the freedom to impose his strengths on every match. In his debut season, Alli would get called up to the national team and win PFA Young Player of the Year. His second season was even better, registering 25 goal contributions in the league, and this took Spurs to another level. From 2015 to 2018, Tottenham Hotspur finished no lower than 3rd place in the Premier League, and it was clear that Pochettino had full trust in Dele moving forward, but then the injury started to become a regular occurrence. He kept suffering from a hamstring injury that would keep him out for a combined 128 days between 2017 and 2020. It was the 2018-2019 season that saw Dele Alli get hit the hardest with injuries, and following the sacking of Mauricio Pochettino in mid-November after a poor start to the season, Dele Alli really struggled to find his true form after that. So who did Spurs sign to replace Pochettino? The one and only Jose Mourinho. But his style was far too restrictive and disciplined, far too contrasting to Pochettino's open and expansive way of play. And all of this really started to affect Alli's mental health, and he wasn't able to reach the heights that he had in seasons prior. He couldn't break back into the first team under Jose Mourinho, and bad habits started to affect him off the field as well. In an attempt to revive his career, he tried new scenery, but unfortunately failed loan moves to Everton and Besiktas solidified what Jose Mourinho had said to him during his time at Spurs. Dele Alli will end up regretting a lot if he doesn't reach his full potential. So this upcoming season with Como might be his last if he doesn't stay consistent. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, please leave a comment, like, subscribe. You already know what to do. And let me know if there's anybody that I missed. I'm definitely planning on doing a part 2 if that's something you guys are up for. And this guy on the screen right now is definitely going to be the main talking point of that video. Thanks again, guys. God bless.